Hi guys, it's Erin. Today I wanted to talk to you about one of my absolute favorite late summer blooms. I'm guessing you can figure it out. Black-eyed Susans. Black-eyed Susans are kind of a classic. They're a cottage garden flower. A lot of people, it's nothing special. They're crazy bright color, but I absolutely love them. They bring such a vibrant pop of color to any bouquet that you're going to make, that these are an absolute staple in my garden every year, and I will forever grow them. There's a couple cool things about them. This particular variety is called Indian Summer. I have another one, Sahara, that I will show you in a little bit. That one's my actual favorite, but this one definitely gets noticed at the farmer's market, and I absolutely love it. There's a couple things to know. We're in zone 8B in the Pacific Northwest, and this particular variety, the Indian Summer, they can actually overwinter. They are, I have several of them that the seed apparently dropped seed last year and came back this spring. There's a few of them that popped up in the flower beds. I'm not trying to do that right now, but these guys are pretty hardy. I think that their zone, it's probably marginal at 8B, and we had a really mild winter. We had one cold snap, but the rest of the winter was really mild and warm, so that probably helps with some of those to overwinter. But in general, I start these from seed every spring, super early spring, and they bloom in the end of July, August. They'll go all the way to a frost. These guys are tough. They're so good for a late season flowers. And when you get these bright yellow blooms, this is when you have sunflowers, when you have the later season colors as you're going into fall. I'll have my red sunflowers, my yellow sunflowers, black-eyed Susans, and then, like I said, I'll show you the Sahara. There's a few things to know. There's a couple of tips that I want to give you about how to cut, when to cut Black-eyed Susan to make sure that they're good for the length, for a long vase life, and a couple things to deal with, or a couple things you need to know about how to post-harvest care for them. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So this one, like I said, Indian Summer, this one is a classic, the bright yellow Rudbeckia. Some people call it Black-eyed Susan, some call it Brown-eyed Susans, but aren't these just, you can't miss them. They're kind of that school bus yellow color that's not everybody's favorite, but a lot of people love it, and it goes really well with purples and like I said, those fall colors, the browns and deeper colors, the rich colors that go deep, brown, red, anything that's rich that will last into the fall. So when you're cutting Black-eyed Susans, you can't, just because this flower is big and bold and beautiful does not mean it's ready to cut. It's a lot like, they're a bit like zinnias. You need to check the stem. So this guy, it's pretty sturdy, fairly. This one, as beautiful as it is, you see that flop? This is not ready to cut, and it will absolutely flop in your vase. This one, it's kind of marginal. Let's look at this guy. This one, yeah, it stays put. The flower doesn't flop from the stem, so it absolutely will hold in a vase. Another thing to know about Black-eyed Susans is that these are a dirty flower. There's a couple ways you can treat that. Dirty flower means that it will scum up the water. If you have a clear vase, it's not going to look good for very long, and it'll deteriorate the other flowers in your vase. So there's a couple things you can do about that. You can try the CVBM tablets. It's like a little chlorine tablet that you put in the buckets to try and clean out the water. Or for me, I just clean the water more often. Every single day, if I have a bunch of Black-eyed Susans in a vase, if it's a see-through vase, I will clean the water every day, snip the stems, and it tends to keep that kind of scummy look out of the water much, much better. And then like I said, you're going to have to do that every day. Otherwise, it can have a detrimental effect on other flowers that you may have in that bouquet. But as long as you keep it clean, they last a long time. My black-eyed Susans, if they're cut at the right time and they're cared for the right way, you want to keep them, you know, like anything, out of direct sunlight, not in a place that's too warm, and they will last a good week, if not longer, depending on the flower. They're such a good flower to have. All right, so like I said, this is obviously way too early, but even a flower that looks like this looks like it's gorgeous. It's floppy, 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 floppy. And it's a pretty easy test to do for any flower. Just like the zinnias, you want to do the same thing to make sure that they're good to go. Now I'm gonna crawl my way. You see the field is in full bloom. I'm gonna squeeze my way through here to show you the Sahara variety, which is absolutely my favorite. This is a blend. Really, it's not any one color, but look at all these colors. The soft yellows, this burnt orange, this sort of brown taupey color, and there's so many of them, so many different varieties. This one almost has a sort of a pink color to it. These are my absolute favorite. Last year I grew a few. I've grown them every year, but last year I grew probably half this many, and boy did I ever wish that I had more. So this year I grew more. These are just gorgeous, and every single plant has a different color. They all coordinate, obviously. They all go together, but I can't even get over this. And these down here, this bit of the Sahara and the Indian summer, these are both a second sowing that I did about a month later than I started all the rest of these to try and get a succession. It sort of worked. I might actually do that in a wider section, or a longer time in between the two to try and make it work better. Same as with the Indian summer. You want to do the wiggle test and make sure they're good. This one looks pretty good. This one, floppy. Don't cut the floppy ones or they will not hold up in a vase. Even though sometimes the flower, the color looks more, it looks better sometimes before it's ready, but they still look good all the way. So there's also one other type that I'll see if I can get some photos or video. There's one other type that I grow called triloba. It is a teeny tiny little flower on a great big huge plant. I'll show you out front right at the end of this video. I'll show you what it looks like. That one in particular will definitely overwinter. It reseeds itself every year in my front garden. It's huge. The plant's probably 5 feet tall, and it'll have just hundreds of tiny little flowers, little yellow black-eyed Susans that are just beautiful and perfect in a spray. The bees also like them. So all in all, these are really easy to grow. I start them, like I said, probably in late February, early March. Grow them on in the greenhouse. They're pretty cold tolerant, so I can put them out earlier in the season. They do take all season to get to flowering. You put them out in March, April, they won't be flowering till the end of July into August. But once they do, they churn out buckets and buckets and buckets of blooms. They just go and go and go. The Sahara variety, not quite as much as the Indian summer. They're a little less prolific, but definitely still worth it. They're all what's called a cut and come again flower. So you cut the stems and they'll put out more side shoots. These are probably more in the medium producer category, unlike a zinnia, which is a full-on cut and come again. Every time you cut something, more comes. These probably do it maybe I don't know, not quite as prolifically as the zinnias do, but definitely worth growing. So like I said, these are some of my absolute favorite for late summer. The color goes beautifully from summer colors into fall, and they will bloom all the way up until the hard frost. You don't necessarily have to, if you're in a zone like mine, zone 8B, they'll probably overwinter. You can cut them back and just let them, treat them like any other perennial, and they'll come back for you. Any zone's colder, it's marginal. I wouldn't expect it to, but they definitely try to come back here, so they're worth a try. Like I said, these are just one of the workhorses in the late summer, and I fully encourage you to give them a try. Okay guys, this is a triloba shrub, actually two of them. Well, they're not really shrubs, they're perennials. But you can see these adorable little black-eyed Susan flowers. This entire plant, if you can see that, is covered in hundreds of these blooms. These are always the latest of all my black-eyed Susans to start blooming, which is perfect timing. So these are just getting going. These reseeded themselves in the front garden, this one and this one. They reseeded themselves last year, well, the year before, and then again this year. I planted one in here. No, I didn't. The birds planted one in here last season, and then this season two more came up. But they just reseed themselves. I think this one actually was perennial. We cut it back and it came back. Like I said, with the varieties that we have out back, they're marginal in this zone. The Sahara is probably not hardy to this zone. I wouldn't expect that one to come back, but the Indian summer, triloba, definitely. I get my seeds at Johnny's for the most part for all of these. They're, like I said, they're not expensive. They're a really good hardy plant to grow, and they put out so many flowers. These two plants right here, there will be hundreds of flowers on each one of them. So like I said, these are some of my absolute favorites for late summer going into fall. They'll bloom all the way to a frost, and they are super tough, super hardy. They go well with all the summer colors and into the fall. All the fall colors, they go well with everything. I really encourage you to give them a try if you haven't before. If you're in this zone or higher, you can overwinter them easily. Just grow them as a perennial, and they are definitely one of the strongest, sturdiest, longest lasting blooms for this time of year. I absolutely encourage you to give it a try. I hope you guys like this video. You see Winston came to visit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you give these guys a try. They're really great. If you like this video, hit a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments or experience with black-eyed Susans that I'm not aware of or I didn't speak to, leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to consider it. And then I will see you guys in the next video.